Welcome to Hypnotic Sessions. Charleenkaw clutches the spatula that belonged to a missing woman. She's attempting to step into the woman's shoes, so to speak, and to understand when, why, and how she disappeared. This isn't a hoax or a cheap parlor trick. This is an actual crime scene investigation. Charleenkaw says she can see through the eyes of the victim. She can feel the panic and the horror and the past. And by the time she is finished, she will have a much better idea how to proceed in search of Betty Chameleon.
It's not just a disappearance. It's a murder!
Charleenkaw is a psychic, and she is using hypnotic sessions to help the world. Beetrice and Charleenkaw, living in the sleepy town of Calgary, Alberta, have truly made their mark in the world of paranormal investigations. Charleenkaw, who was a student of a master hypnotic Tibetan genius and spent many years learning and honing her supernatural abilities in the mountains, has become the first name in the phone book of psychic answers to the question we are all still asking. Beetrice is her partner and helps out with various things. They work closely with the local law enforcement and have had to fight for the approval of people all around the world who think they are probably just a couple of kooks off the street. Lieutenant Niffles from the Calgary Police Force used to be one of those people.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to say it. Beetrice and Charleenkaw freaked me out at first. But it's more like they were silly, like, who believes in this supernatural hocus-pocus mumbo-jumbo anyway? Just a couple of kooks off the street. But we were having trouble with a big case a few years ago, and Jimmy, Sergeant Jimmy, God rest his soul, Jimmy says to me, we should bring in a psychic. Man, I thought he was drinking, because, you know, he was always drinking. But he was serious. But I says, we're not a big police department with 1 million clams to blow and a couple of fruitcakes. But the truth was, we were stumped. To make a long story short, they found the reptiles, and I became a believer.
Tell me about your involvement with the police.
Well, we've been on many cases. I can't count how many. At least three.
At least three?
At least three. And really, they contact us when they're at their wit's end. They don't know who the killer is. Sometimes they don't even know who the victim is. And we get called in to read the situation, look at the evidence.
And solve the case, honestly.
And feel the vibrations, and sometimes talk to the dead so that we can figure out who did it.
Specifically, talking to the dead is really helpful in figuring out who the victim is in the end anyway, especially if the police don't know.
just one time we did orange peel readings, and that was amazing.
It was very successful. It did end us up solving the case. That was the second case we worked on together for this police station specifically.
Yeah.
And is it like a specific type of, like, do you find like navel oranges or like?
I think mandarin oranges work the best.
Mandarin oranges and blood oranges work well too.
They peel really well.
Yes, especially if we're looking into a murder case, because the blood oranges and then the blood of the crime, sometimes they can mingle together and it can really help reach the victim.
That intention is very important there.
Makes a lot of sense. So do you have proof that psychic investigation is useful?
I mean, look at all the cases we've found.
Exactly.
It speaks for itself.
Look at all these files.
Right? Like,
every single one of them.
To carry this gun if I was not psychically, imbued with powers.
There's your proof right there, honestly.
Exactly.
So, what are psychic powers? What is a psychic? And do they have special powers? Where did all of this begin, you might ask? And should we be afraid of these very special people because they might have powers? My name is Douglas Weisberg, and together we shall uncover these diabolical mysteries. The word psychic is derived from the Greek word psychikos, of the mind, or mental, and refers in part to the human mind, or psyche. The Greek word also means soul. Does this mean that psychic powers are derived from the soul? Is this absolute proof of the existence of God? It can be the ability to tell the future, as in possibly the most famous psychic of all time, Nostradamus, who in the 16th century accurately foretold thousands of events, including the invention of cars, the murder of Jim, the fall of the dog family of Ohio, the sinking of the SS Hoopla, and more. Modern spiritualism was the belief that spirits of the dead could be contacted by mediums to lend insight to the living. Is this how Charleenkaw has gained her power? Is she contacting the dead? Maybe even Jim? It's possible, and the most likely answer. The way Beetrice and Charleenkaw apply their very special skills usually starts with them going to the crime scene and feeling around for a sensation or an image, the air of the past and the wind of the future. They psychically touch the area to get a sense of history. They will often, if possible, use personal items of the people involved. Charleenkaw will touch the items and understand who it belonged to and what it means. She will find the witnesses of the crime or anyone connected, and she will touch them physically to pick up the proverbial psychic scent of the events that took place. Some have called Charleenkaw the master of the touch. And clearly, she lives up to that name by touching everything and everyone around her.
Well, exactly. We're not just some kooks off the street. Like, we know what we're doing.
My phone is off the hook.
Like, all the time. Like, it's either ringing or even getting the police come to our doorways asking us to help them because they're so, useless without us.
Honestly. I don't think half of their murder cases would get solved if it wasn't for us.
In fact, they wouldn't even know about half their murder cases if it wasn't for us. I mean, for me, it's really started with nightmares and, sometimes I hear, the screaming in my head, and then it really just builds from there, and you can reach and you can speak with the other side, and, if you feel like you're going crazy, maybe you are, but maybe you're not. You never really truly know until you can solve a case.
And I think the way that you get from where you started to where we are now is that screaming and visions and all the things that makes you not want to sleep. But when you have someone that leads you in the right direction, then you can learn to properly hold conversations. And we've built a relationship with the police. They trust us with that evidence.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And they're the police. You would think that they would have some level of intuition. And if you can't trust the police, what can you do?
But Charleenkaw and maybe Beetrice aren't the only psychics working in law enforcement. All over the country, the psychics are coming out of the proverbial woodwork to assist the police. Jenny Gleamtooth from Kingston, Ontario, helped the local police find out why the bakeries were all burning down. and Simon Clapper from Prince George, British Columbia, was responsible for the recovery of the Prince George, British Columbia crown jewels. Barry Geetman from Whitehorse, Yukon, helped the RCMP finally solve the case of the laundry lady. With so many people with such potential psychic powers, it is little wonder that Beetrice and Charleenkaw have set up a training institute for people who may have ESP, or extrasensory perception. The group is called the Secret Society of Psychic Squires.
Yes, so we set up this group to help with people with burgeoning psychic powers to develop their skills and to help us with our investigations.
So, why the Secret Society of Psychic Squires?
Well, traditionally, psychic power would be kept a secret, so, you don't get burnt at the stake or whatever.
Yeah, and well, society is a group of people, and psychic because they're developing their psychic powers.
And Squires because it starts with the S sound.
Yes, Beetrice and Charleenkaw have been very helpful in helping me discover my true inner self. When they found me, I was living in a graveyard. I had no job, no money, and no home. I'd wait till dark and eat the flowers people brought to their deceased loved ones. One night, I heard the voice of a deceased loved one yelling at me to stop eating their flowers, and now I'm here solving crimes.
People think we're just a bunch of mysterious kooks calling down forces from Mars. But I can assure you, we are not kooks. The kooks part is totally wrong. In fact, I'm a cook and work at a restaurant during the day.
One time I touched a pair of pants I found on the street. I got vivid images of everything those pants had gone through. I was traumatized and ended up at the hospital. That's when Beetrice and Charleenkaw found me and rescued me. Now I can touch pants and solve mysteries instead of having a nervous breakdown.
Even Beetrice is still learning about her fledgling powers. She was not a psychic until Charleenkaw made her go on a journey through the darkest depths of her soul.
Yeah, I really wish she wouldn't have done that to me. It was horrible. In some ways, I'll never really forgive her for that weekend, and honestly, there's a lot of friends that I lost because of that I'll never be able to get back again.
But in the end, it was worth it, wasn't it? Think of all the lives that you saved and have made better since then.
Well, sometimes I hear screaming in my head.
It's the psychic energy.
The nightmares are getting worse.
Visions of the future.
God, I hope not.
Show them what else you can do.
Yes, I have discovered that I have a telekinetic power. It's actually pretty amazing, and it's super helpful for crime solving. Okay, well, usually it will bend a bit, but I don't know, I guess I'm just nervous about being on TV.
The group of people they have brought under their proverbial wing also consists of individuals with absolutely extraordinary powers.
One interesting thing Beetrice and Charleenkaw helped me to develop was the uncanny ability to know when there might be a cat nearby.
I kind of have super hearing. Like, in certain situations, I can hear what's happening probably like 30 meters away from where I'm standing.
This isn't really useful for crime fighting, but I can also make a perfect hard-boiled egg by using my psychic power.
I can turn my head into a flaming skull.
Can you show us?
I have to be really emotionally charged to do it, and I'm not emotionally charged right now.
This is Beetrice and Charleenkaw's latest recruit, Hansa Miller. She is helping them on this latest disappearance turned murder.
Beetrice and Charleenkaw are the greatest. They really turned my life around. A month ago, I was manager of a Best Buy, and I had no idea about the power of the mind. And now, here I am, I've quit my job, and I live in Beatrice's basement. Now, I'm on my first case with them. I could really make a difference in the world.
We, frankly, solve more, know more, and do better.
We get done. If you are having symptoms of psychic awakening, contact Beetrice and Charleenkaw. We can help.
What kind of supernatural powers do you have?
As of yet, I haven't realized my full potential or seen any evidence of supernatural ability. But Charleenkaw says it's only a matter of time, and I shouldn't lose hope.
So what do you hope to achieve by completely changing your life to serve the needs of Beatrice and Charleenkaw?
Well, I hope to overcome the barriers of time and space to help solve gruesome crimes. It's my end goal.
That would seem to be the end goal of Beetrice and Charleenkaw as well. Like any person locked in a dark room, they feed off the vibrations of the dead to save the living.
I feel like I wouldn't be the person or the investigator or the detective I am today without her.
I don't think she would have gone through the psychic trauma if it wasn't for me.
So, okay, here's the story. We were walking down the street, and I saw a rabbit. And Charleenkaw, at first, she couldn't see the rabbit, and so I was like, okay, I'm having a psychic breakthrough here, and maybe I'm even more powerful than she is.
At this point, I was amazed. This wasn't that long after your first experience.
No,
I thought that she's seen something that I'm not.
Yeah.
I mean, you were down the street a little bit, but I was looking and I couldn't find it. So
exactly. And so I saw the rabbit, and then I heard the screaming. And you know, some people may call it delusion or hallucination.
I took a moment to tap into it, and I got feelings and visions in my head. I got white, and I got clover.
I think it really just goes to show how good of a teacher that she's been, and you know how much that this really is real and helpful for everybody involved. You know.
I think it all comes down to intuition.
Yeah,
intuition.
It sounds like the two of you have a very deep psychic connection between each other.
We do. Sometimes I can even hear her screaming when she's not.
In 1971, Judy Muscox went missing. The same as over 80,000 people who go missing every day in Canada. However, this time it was different because of a rookie cop who saw the potential of a couple of women he met down by his houseboat one day.
Yeah, so Timmy, that's Constable Timmerton, God rest his soul. Timmy comes up to me during the Muscox investigation, says he's met two strange ladies. Well, Timmy and strange ladies, there's nothing new there, but he says they could help us find Judy. Some supernatural shit or something. So to make a long story short, I gave the kid a smack across the face. But after a few dead ends, said to him, well, why don't you bring your young ladies down to the station? Things couldn't get much worse than they already were, am I right?
Things didn't get worse. And as a matter of fact, it was mere hours after Lieutenant Niffles met Beetrice and Charleenkaw that Judy was found hiding in an abandoned car 30 miles out of town.
It was the weirdest thing I ever saw. Charleenkaw put the missing lady's gloves in her mouth, and next thing you know, they're out the door like a bat out of hell. Came back a few hours later with Judy Muscox, who was on a rainbow journey through time, if you know what I mean. I called Charleenkaw a bloodhound after that, but it never caught on. But it made a believer out of this skeptic.
This latest case was no different.
What do we do when we're not solving crimes? Sometimes we go shopping.
and the winds of psychic energy have dragged these detectives exactly where they needed to go. Not kicking and screaming, but definitely howling like the beasts that live within the hearts of all people.
I am sensing that Betty Chameleon's the space which she died is here in these woods. So let's all of us use our energy to try and find out what spot exactly, and then we can host the seance. Good? This way, this way. The tree is telling me that something happened over here. The tree is telling me, Yes, this way.
I'm feeling gassy. It must be something. I'm feeling gassy. Here?
This way, a little further. I'm feeling cold. It is quite windy. Warmer. Well, no, this direction. Something's this direction. Hot. Very hot.
Thank you.
Hot.
Hot's good.
Right here. This is it. This was the scene. I can feel it. The energy here is very strong. It is now time for the hypnotic session. Prepare yourselves.
It is now time for the hypnotic session.
What is your vision for the future of psychic crime investigation?
My God, there's always visions. What can I say? I mean, there's visions right now.
I could do one right now if you like.
That would be fantastic.
Music. I am seeing a room, a boardroom. There are some police, and we're there, and there's files on the table, and there's clapping, and we've been given medals. I think the future is that they realize how important we are.
Oh my gosh, as they should. We truly are the backbone of this institution.
I think so.
Yes, and I think that vision really just kind of sparks the vision in my head that, proves that we're on the right path and that we're going in the right direction here.
Mm-hmm. No, if you listen to the psychic energy right now, what are you getting?
Screaming.
So what exactly is a hypnotic session? And why has it captured the minds and imaginations of a generation of ghost hunters and detectives alike? Lieutenant Niffles has some ideas.
Okay, so I only ever saw Charleenkaw do this a couple times, but it's like, imagine if you're electrocuted, but you're in a bathtub of jello. But instead of dying, you go on a vacation. But it's a vacation with every person in the history of the world who's ever died. It's kind of terrifying, but at the same time, it's super relaxing. It's kind of like going on a ride, but the ride is a pit of deadly, deadly hyenas. Got it?
Clearly, there is more to a hypnotic session than Lieutenant Niffles is letting on. And our cameras were there this time to capture this rare activity, to share with the world.
We have crystals to represent calm and focus. our ceremonial dagger. Bones of the dead. And candles to light the way into the Shadow Realm. With this symbolism and the energy that we bring into this circle, follow my lead. We cast this circle and banish all evil. We cast this circle and invoke the spirit of Betty Chameleon. Spirit of Betty Chameleon. Betty Chameleon. We drink of this symbolic blood.
But unfortunately, as the hypnotic session began, our equipment had a massive failure. As is the tradition, with all electrical devices in proximity to one of Beetrice and Charleenkaw's unorthodox hypnotic sessions. Perhaps one day, we will find a way to film them. Until then, we must let our imaginations run wild like a small child in a field of corn. When our cameras came back on, the session was done, but Hansa was in the midst of an angry possession.
Shit! Oh my god! Release her! Let her go! Be gone, foul demon! What just happened? Do we shoot her? No,
This final clue was chillingly close.
The hypnotic session at the crime scene went well. I was connected to the spirit world in such a way where I could be within the realm of unconsciousness space between our world and that of the mystical plane of existence that connects the mythical beasts of legends and the things that bind our universe together.
Basically, what we're trying to tell you is that Betty Chameleon was stalked, chased, and eventually attacked by a vicious pack of vampire weregoats.
Weregoats?
It's obvious if you know how to live within the cells of reality.
Do you have an explanation for what happened to Hansa? How come she was so negatively affected by the hypnotic session?
This interview is over.
We're done.
Look, I don't claim to know what these ladies are doing. Their methods are unorthodox according to polite society, but generally they get the results. I don't know what happened to Hansa, and we didn't have any contact information for next of kin or any family member. Any part of the case I don't know, I just throw in the bin like anything else I don't understand. Look, if you were Betty Chameleon's grandfather, you'd expect us to do everything in our power as well. Look, I'm not the monster here. The real monsters are the vampire weregoats.
3 days later, Hansa is found by Beetrice and Charleenkaw near the river. From her appearance and behavior, she has suffered a complete mental break from reality and has been putting together what pieces of her existence she could extract from the thick mud of her memories.
Wake up. Wake up. Let's get her. We gotta get you up. Come on.
Is Hansa the key to all of this? Is it this incident that put all the pieces of the puzzle back together?
Beetrice and Charleenkaw, they really know what they're doing. I can feel it. I'm getting close. I'm getting close to being connected with my abilities, and I really trust them and the way that they're guiding me towards my abilities. I feel it, and I trust them. I do. I I trust them a lot, and I'm just looking forward to knowing what my psychic ability is. Maybe I'll even be able to see beyond the grave, see dead people. I don't know. Maybe.
Soon after Hansa was found, the body of Betty Chameleon washed up on shore only meters from where Hansa was discovered. Her body had many injuries that are consistent with attacks by vampire weregoats.
So basically, this whole ordeal, the hypnotic session, Hansa running away and coming back and everything, is why we recovered the body of Ms. Chameleon. I can't say it enough. I'm a skeptic turned believer. I put these young ladies on a salary with a bonus for every case solved. And they made their bonus this week. Heck, I may even treat them to dinner at my favorite restaurant, Hank's Chicken Shack, where the chicken is fresh and the drinks are hot.
Well, Niffles is right. We do our job perfectly, like we do every single time.
We do, and it's almost like the police force is absolutely incapable of solving almost any mystery at all without our, investigative techniques.
You got that right, old friend. Also, if I have to have one more piece of Hank's Chicken Shack, I'm going to throw up.
Like I did 2 weeks ago. God, Niffles filled me so full of Hank's chicken, it was obscene.
And what is with that place and the hot drinks? I wanted a Diet Coke and it comes out steaming.
You know, that's so gross. I think that's what tipped me over the edge 2 weeks ago when I vomited all over Lieutenant Niffles' car.
Ugh, that was a horrible smell.
Psychic powers, hypnotic session, possessions, and justice. Do all these things go together? Is it morally irresponsible to tamper with the forces beyond our understanding? Or does that old adage still hold true? When there are answers to be sought, do not tread lightly on the graves of our enemies. Just use the powers in your head to expand the houses of the damned. Thank you for watching Hypnotic Sessions. I was Douglas Weisberg. See you next time.